Welcome everybody to episode 153 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We're your hosts, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. Russell, another week in the books?
I think so. And I'm just trying so hard not to say Donald Trump and Wander Franco, but I made it 30 seconds and I've already let it slip out.
You literally opened the show with it. Okay.
I tried hard. I tried my best.
Oh, well, you took your shot. It actually, it landed. Yeah. Unlike the Trump incident, I guess. Anyway.
Oh.
Goodness.
Boy,
goodness.
Oh boy.
What a day. What a day in the media. Have you been watching any Summer League? Speaking of missed shots, there we go.
I actually have watched some Summer League. Kevin Knox has been a little bit of a pleasant surprise for me. Always, fingers crossed he gets back into the league. But actually, the thing I have been trying to do is watch some World Championships. And I have a very unpatriotic take on the World Championships, actually.
On the upcoming Olympics?
Sorry, the Olympics. Yeah, That's right.
Yep.
I'll be following Team USA more than I'll be following Team Australia. So I do apologise.
After the way the Australian team was selected, I will not be watching the Boomers because it's embarrassing. Anyway.
No, I was explaining this to my wife, though, that it's not that I'm unpatriotic and I don't love Australia, because I do. And
of course,
it's the greatest country in the world and all that type of happy stuff. But I just watch the NBA guys day in and day out. I just have more of an emotional connection to Jason Tatum than I do to, Dyson Daniels or whoever else has been, listed to the Australian team.
Don't say Matisse Thybulle because he wasn't selected. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that tirade. Look, I watched the US-Canada scratch match the other day. That was interesting.
Where did you watch it?
It was on Foxtel.
Yeah, right.
On ESPN. Yeah.
I've been having a few problems getting a clean stream.
I think the Aussies take on the US in a couple of days. So that'll be interesting. But I don't know. Australia's in the pool of death. And I think it is going to be Team USA all the way, with maybe a couple of interesting challenges from some familiar parts of the world.
I think no matter what pool they were put into, it all looks pretty competitive to me, to be honest. There's not really weak teams going through. Like, typically what would happen for the Olympics is that the host country would be deemed the weakest team because they get the automatic berth. But
true,
this French team is looking insane.
The French team's got Victor Wembanyama and Rudy Gobert, so I would not be a fan of going up against the French. So do you think it could be a France-USA final?
I hope it's USA and Canada. That seems to me the most obvious one straight up. But at the same time, I get the feeling it's going to be a really good Olympic series. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. So,
do you know who doesn't think it's going to be a good Olympic series? Luka Doncic, because he's not going.
Yeah, right.
Because Giannis kicked them out. Anyway, yep.
It took you 3 minutes, 50 seconds to get your Luka jab in.
That's it. I could have gone with the Luka jab before the Trump shot, but
I beat you to it.
A missed jump shot is now called a Trump shot. Just saying. Are we going to get cancelled for this?
I don't think so. We pay our own bills, don't we? So.
Yeah, this is fine. We'll be fine. Yeah.
But there's too many shots to be called a Trump shot. It has to be a very particular shot. We'll have to delve into this a bit deeper.
We'll get the technicalities of what a missed jump shot being called a Trump shot means. Yeah.
All righty. Let's get started with some content ads. So there's been a few things on my mind this week. That Caitlin Clark getting her own blasters is one of them. I'm still mulling over this whole Rob Dillingham thing, so I've fleshed that out. I've got that in later into the show. And the other big one that happened this week was a collector who bought 6 PSA 10 Jordans, cracked them, had Jordan sign them, and then they were straight away regraded with PSA. So I think we should talk about that. But I want to talk about Caitlin Clark first, because there's two parts of this me. The first part is obviously Panini wants to cash in on Caitlin Clark's popularity. And then also too, I think it gives us a snapshot as to where Penny will be going in the next 5 to 10 years. I think we're going to be seeing more of these type of out of the left field, so to speak, product ideas. And so the one thing it did make me think about though too was that if they did have Wembanyama signing for them, or Wemby or Victor, can you imagine how much of his own product Wemby would be getting right now? Like if Caitlin Clark is getting this type of treatment.
Well, do you think Fanatics will follow suit and there'll be a Wemby product?
I think people would buy it, but already Fanatics are already doing a Wemby product in a sense because they're just selling his autograph cards on their website. So
Yeah.
In a
Why would
way,
you need to
they're
crack packs for it? Just go and
yeah,
buy a card. Done.
in a way they're already doing it to a degree. So
It,
So if you haven't seen this online, it's a blaster product and you can get Caitlin Clark autographs in it. Every single card that's in there is Caitlin Clark. So if you go onto eBay, you'll see heaps of,
I'm
basically all the
sharing the
different
screen at the moment
tickets that's in
of the
it. Yeah, so
sold.
it's like a Chronicles type product. It's got Don Russ in it. It's got the Contenders season ticket. It's got the Reigning Threes insert, a celebration of how many points that she scored. There's a crunch time insert in there. So there's pictures of her when she was in juniors playing. So look, I think
What?
I don't have a massive problem with this. The price point on it at the moment is pretty friendly. The comps on it are selling around $35 US to $39 a box plus postage. So it's not like it's $200, $300. I don't have a massive problem with this. Do I think it's a cash grab? Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's sort of as simple as that. So
Like it's that's literally it. It's what it is. That's a draft. Yeah. I'm just
I
going
think,
through one of the posts.
and if we drill this down a little bit more, Panini's a company that's trying to make money. Their options for autographs have been severely limited this year because of Fanatics and how they basically poached away the athletes, to exclusive deals. So, I'm not super surprised to see stuff like this. Keeping in the Caitlin Clark vein, we've got here from at PSA Card, just graded a 1/1 Bowman University laundry tag has just been graded. Gem Mint 10 and also autograph 10 on that too. So in terms of collectability, do you
Nice.
like laundry tags in cards? Is that something that does it really for you or not so much of a big deal?
Not really. Yeah, not my thing. Laundry tag is a bit. Yeah.
So I put just the napkin patch at the bottom, then maybe a 2-colored patch in there. Then I'd put the laundry tag. Then I'd put a 3-color. The one that's up number one for me is when they have the sponsorship logos cut into there. So some of the teams have got Jordan, some of the teams are
Ooh.
Nike, and whatever else that come in there. Those for me are my pinnacle patches. I love those. I just completely froth over those. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I put this as like a level 3 patch, I suppose.
Okay. It's different, but I wouldn't say it's particularly exciting.
Yep.
The laundry tag.
Now, keeping in the same Caitlin Clark vein or thought, now this
Mm-hmm.
I need to give credit to the guys from the WNBA chat room that I'm in.
One of many chat rooms that you're in.
I do enjoy a good chat room when it comes to sports cards. So what they were talking about in the chat room was who are the other athletes who have also got their own products. So they definitely helped me out a lot and pointed me in the right direction. So 100% credit to them. But I also dug up a few other ones too. Obviously, we just talked about Caitlin Clark. 2003, 2004 Upper Deck LeBron James. 2003, 2004 LeBron James Phenomenal Beginnings. 2004, 2005 Upper Deck Rivals LeBron versus Carmelo Anthony. Then it got a little bit more interesting later on down through this list. 2015 Kobe Bryant Hero and Villain set, which I reckon you'll be very familiar with those. And those
I had some of those.
pretty readily available still.
Yep, a base set, the subs, the holograms.
1998 Upper Deck MJX sealed hobby box 24 packets. Now that's got the black cover, obviously with the goat's face on it. If you're looking for the pictures on these, just go to our Facebook page. I'll put them all up on there. And I left this one till last. The 1999 2000 Upper Deck Michael Jordan Master Collection box set, numbered to 500. And every single box gets a Jordan autograph in there. And even the box alone is just amazing. It actually looks like a cigar box. I can
special.
imagine Jordan taking the cards out and just dumping all these cigars in there, to be honest. Off the top of your head, did I miss any?
No, I would have referred to the hero villain set.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Like as soon as you said the Caitlin Clark, I'm like, oh, it's interesting that it's a Chronicles format, like the Caitlin Clark product, that it's cards that have been printed elsewhere.
I don't want to sound cup half empty, but I suspect that's because they already had the templated art there and they just shifted it across and then put the sticker autos out onto the product and, Bob's your uncle.
Sure. I'm more concerned with, because I was looking at these eBay auctions and what was about. So there's the, pick your card auctions. And I noticed that certain cards get grayed out very quickly. And it's stuff like the Razzle Dazzle Caitlin Clark, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a good insert to get. Oh, it's gray, of course. All the base stuff's available.
Yeah.
But does that dilute the pool by adding copies of a card? Like, how does this work? Am I reading too much into it? Or it's like, are you flooding the market unnecessarily with...
At the moment, I can actually answer this question reasonably confidently. So at the moment, WNBA product is currently limited to Prism,
Mhm.
Revolution, and
Mhm.
Origins.
Okay.
And Origins is a hybrid of Origins, but it also has blank slates in it.
Okay.
So these other inserts that are currently in this blaster are
Are
not
exclusive?
are sort of
Okay.
just for that product. Also, too, this is
Does that make it more collectible?
well, it's a college product, so it's also got that sort of clear delineation between that and NBA. So
Yeah,
almost call
yeah,
this a
true,
bridging
true.
thing. But I don't
Okay.
think this is. I don't think you're buying these boxes ad for the razzle dazzle inserts and the crunch time.
Yeah.
You're just getting this
You want
for
the
the hope you'll
autos.
get a Caitlin Clark autograph. I think if we're being realistic here.
Yep. That's what the hero villain set was all about. The autos, they were very, very sparse with the
Yeah,
Kobe
that's
autos.
it. And you can pick up those hero villain cards for a couple of bucks each. I suspect this is going to be the same thing, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
It's an interesting checklist though. Like it comes across like it's cards from other sets, but it's not. Yeah.
Jordan autographs. Where are you at with this? How do you feel about this story?
Jordan, the rookie card stuff.
Yeah, so basically the
Well,
outcome is now there's 6 Jordan 86 Fleer autographed cards, all PSA 10, all autos 10 in one person's collection.
Yep. Certified.
Yeah, they're certified, but they're also Gem Min 10 and autograph 10.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my first thought is they could have used a different color pen because the contrast on the cards isn't fantastic. Like maybe a thin white marker or a thin silver marker would have been really nice on that. Or even
silver would have been amazing.
Yeah, or even gold, because I just feel like that sort of thick blue marker, they might have left an opportunity open there, but that's here or there. I think most people will look past that.
I think that's going to be.
So for me, it's really important these were graded with PSA. I think that's very, very important.
That's huge, correct? Yep.
Because there's no point these being graded with BGS. They don't have that money back guarantee. They don't have that sort of protection there. So for me, that's a no-go. So I'm very glad that they're PSA. What I do worry about in general on these cards is that we don't exactly know how many of them are out there in terms of the population. So that's where I've always felt about these cards. While it's the most important card and it might be the most valuable card, basically in NBA card collectibles, and I understand that, I also find it maybe also the most overinflated card. And this is probably a good example as to that, because there's one potential buyer that said, oh, I've offered $100 million on these, which was
this is the story, right?
Yeah,
that they've been. This person's allegedly been offered $100 million for the cards.
I just think it puts a hard cap on all the other ones that are now out there, because there was a time. Yes, it was during COVID, but there was a time when people were talking about this card being, $1 million card. So I think for me, it really limits the unautographed cards of these. It puts a very hard ceiling onto them immediately. So,
but what's the they decline the offer, right? So I'm just let's even just make it 90 million. Say that he had accepted an offer of 90 million.
Sure,
that's $15 million a card.
Yeah.
Right? So if one of these is a $20 million card, surely the unautographed one potentially one day reaching $1 million isn't out of the question.
Oh, really? So you think it still could get to $1 million?
Well, what does the auto add? Is it a multiplier, or is it just a different cap, right?
Okay, sure.
So my thing is that this card could be $1 million, could be a $2 million card, but that won't change this from going from a $20 million card to, I don't know, a $25 million card, a $50 million card. I don't know how crazy the industry is going to be in 25 years, but
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't think the two are it's not mutually exclusive. They're definitely on different trajectories. If somebody knocked back an offer of $100 million for these 6, why don't we say no, but I'll sell you one for $20 million?
Well, I actually think they'll be kept together as a set. Sorry, and I didn't cover this before. So they have different inscriptions on them. 6-time NBA champ, 84, 85 Rookie of the Year, 87, 88 Defensive Player of the Year, and 5-time NBA MVP.
That's 4.
It looks like one of them are just his autograph. 2 of them are just his autograph.
Okay.
So I think this will be a set.
You reckon it's a set? Wouldn't you just sell one of the autoed ones then? If
Maybe.
You've got 2 autos.
Yeah.
2 just the auto. I think the set of 4 and maybe a set of 5 with the thingo. So
yeah.
But when were these alleged to be signed?
Literally in the last 2 weeks.
Wow. So Jordan actually signed these recently.
Yeah. So there's some funny conspiracy theory stories coming out about this, that Jordan's in debt with card sharks and other gamblers and stuff like that. And the reason why he'd
No way on earth.
come out and do this favor is to, get out of trouble again or something like that, which is kind of funny. Like, he's also
That's
just
hilarious.
sold the Charlotte Hornets. I don't think he's short of cash at the moment for some reason.
Yeah, I think it'd be fine.
All right, so let's talk about the Jordan 1986 base Fleer PSA 10. Population on this is 331.
Yep.
It last sold for $198,000. So
yeah,
using
200K is the,
So using your multiplier rule, what's the multiplier on that? Like 20 times?
20, more.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Right, 20 million.
That's times 100. Here we go. Look at us do numbers on live podcast here. This is fantastic.
It's 100x.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, if it say this is $1 million card, 20x is if it was a $20 million. Like, I don't know.
It seems ridiculous that
100x
it's 100x
for the auto.
Yeah.
I think they're just different cards. My thought is that now they're autographed. They're not part of the normal population of this card.
Yeah, sure.
So they don't fit
so they
into
shouldn't be
a
in
traditional
card ladder
population.
in that population count. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so it's a different population report.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, oh, maybe they got two of the single autos, so they could have the set of 5 and then have a 6th to on forward for $20 million.
Buy
Because they would what? Wait, hang on. So the highest price they sold for is as a BGS as a PSA 10 is 200K.
That's a current price.
Right. So if I bought 6 of these for $1.2 million and got them graded, whatever that costs me, I don't think it'll cost quite those ridiculous numbers.
So the highest price ever is $645,000.
Okay, that's different.
Useless piece of information for you.
But if I spend under $2 million anyway, we'll say under $2 million to acquire 6 of these.
Yeah.
For whatever it cost me, say, I don't know what it cost me to get Jordan's autograph.
What do you think it would cost to get Jordan's autograph like that?
I have no idea. I reckon you'd have to be
$500,000.
I reckon you'd have to be playing some high stake gambling in some respect, and he would have to lose, and part of the loss would be he'd have to agree to sign cards.
Yeah. I still think you have to pay him at least $500,000 in autograph.
Yeah, it'd be like, you get $1 million, but you have to sign my cards. And he's like, all right, you've got to bet. And then he loses and goes, guess I better sign your cards, whatever, give me my $1 million. And then signs these cards. But for your investment, and we're talking some serious money right now, but you're like, I've spent $2 million, maybe $3 million, to guarantee when they're regraded as PSA 10s that I'm going to be offered $100 million. That's an interesting case to be made.
What's your final thought on this? And I think we should go to a break.
In the break, I'm going to go and see what I can get signed by Jordan. And like, it's a crazy investment. Can you imagine doing it? My final thought is, wow, that's a hell of a risk for one hell of a reward. Because if it doesn't come back 10-10, you've also got other issues. But
so apparently PSA was there for the whole thing. So they just cracked them out of the case, got him to sign, and PSA put them straight back in, basically. So
wow, okay,
that's kind of cool.
Did PSA help get them out?
I have no idea.
Conspiracies. Yep.
My final thought is that some people are playing chess and some people are playing checkers. I think this guy is clearly playing chess. And as much as I hate the purchase price of the base PSA 10s for $200,000 or whatever they're currently trading at,
yeah,
I love these at whatever price they're going to go for, if that makes sense. So
yeah, for sure.
But again, it's just these type of cards are just the ones that you dream of. I don't ever imagine owning it for myself. Do you know what I mean? Like, I never really, these cards are sort of just space cards for me, you know? It's like going to the moon one day. Just, I don't really dream about it. So
it's all like, it's like those pretend poker tables where you're like, I was betting $1 million, and you're like, a virtual money. Right. It's all virtual currency in my eyes.
Slotomania, yeah. I know how awesome is Slotomania, right? Yeah. Alrighty, let's go to an ad.
Let's do it.
Thank you to Team Bangman and Amir for all of your support to our podcast. We really appreciate your ongoing support into this space. The Bangman is currently in between his custom boxes. However, the next edition will be coming out very, very shortly, and we have a preview for you. Recommended retail price of $399, coming with, but not only with these products, Select Hobby, Recon Hobby, Optic Hobby, Photogenic Hobby, which has been very hot this year. People have been eating that up. Revolution Hobby and Origins H2 Hobby. I'm sure Amir will have something else to add to that nice little list there. If you want to get in contact with Amir, hit him up on Facebook at The Bangman, on Instagram, The Bangman, and also check out Amir's breaks. He is now ripping daily, filling out breaks really quickly. Payment options, Afterpay, ZipPay, bank transfer, PayPal. Amir has got it all. I've also seen his recent paperwork he submitted to the trademark office to patent his official catchphrase of bang. Thanks, Team Bangman. We appreciate all of your support. We're back, Ad.
We're back.
How's your break?
It was great. I couldn't find any Jordan rookies to get Jordan to sign, unfortunately.
Okay.
There are a couple of random just Jordan cards. I wonder if he'll sign those. And
Yeah.
Yep, the PSA 9s that maybe we'll get the... No, anyway.
Alrighty. Owner offers reward after video captures thieves stealing $2 million in baseball cards.
This is a hell of a story.
I'm sure everyone's seen this all over social media anyway, but I think we should talk about this, Ad, because there's so many unanswered questions for me on this. So basically they were packing up from their show. They had $2 million worth of cards sitting in an unattended briefcase. The people who stole them were basically casing out the place all day. They then pretended to be workers at the event who then distracted the owner. They came in and took the briefcase and basically just walked out.
Yep.
So I see this from two sides. I definitely agree that there's people up to some mischief here, but I'm not 100% too sure that the person who owned the cards, and this is just my personal opinion, it's supported by no evidence, but this is my gut feeling after reading and looking at all through the video. I don't think that the owner is without blame here too, because if you have $2 million worth of cards, why on earth are you just leaving it unattended under a table and not handcuffed to yourself or to a security guard or something along these lines, right? So, and then the other thing too is how quickly they came up with their inventory list and all the pictures of all the cards that were supposed to be in that box. And it just seemed to me like there was so many cards that were fitting into that, really small box. It's a bit like an insurance job where your garage gets broken into, instead of having 2 lawnmowers stolen or 1 lawnmower stolen, you say, oh, actually it was 2 lawnmowers and a whippersnipper and a leaf blower and a polisher for my car. And the list sort of just gets bigger and bigger, and it comes back as an insurance job.
It's pretty cooked. I don't know. I was just watching the video again, and I was like, there's got to be some onus, but just like, if you've got that, we've all been to trade shows, but come on, keep an eye on your stuff.
I think particularly if it's $2 million worth of stuff, I think if you can afford to lose something and you're happy not to watch it 100% of the time, I think that's fine. But if it's that much money, you probably shouldn't be leaving it, unattended.
Yep.
I think
that's bizarre.
I mean, just to add to my sort of conspiracy take on this, I think if we're being realistic too about people who have been in the hobby the last couple of years back, and we spoke about this recently, where we're talking about people who were buyers and sellers at vendor shops, and then they had cards that were now, say, 4 times over comps, but they weren't willing to sell it for less than that because that's the purchase price.
The purchase price of the card was so, of course.
So if this is all you do, and now you've just experienced 2 years of basically losses on all of the purchases that you've just made, there is some incentive to do a huge insurance deal like this. But the thing also that's really got me interested about this too is, like, if you're an insurance company paying out and everyone can see this footage, wouldn't you use this footage just to deny the claim, to say, well, you haven't taken enough responsibility, for your possessions, and we find you liable, we're not going to be paying for your silly mistake.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what the insurance company are going to do about it.
I wonder if that's also why too they're trying so hard to get the message out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they can't rely on insurance to come back and pay for it.
Yeah. But won't the insurance company take what's happening into consideration? Like, the video's been circulating. There's a level of, man, you should have taken better care of your stuff. Like, where are your security precautions that show? Do you know what I mean? If you get your car stolen and it's worth $100,000, and they go, okay, well, here's another $100,000, go get another car, right? But it's been all over the news that your garage was left wide open with the keys there. Are they going to go, here's your 100K, or no, your car wasn't secured
I don't think so.
appropriately?
I think the answer is no, definitely.
So
The other
we'll see how this all plays out, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely keen to follow this up. So the other juicy one for me too is that there's obviously the photos of the guy with, the bucket hat on, the big glasses, and someone online identified him as a trader from Romania, and he's already back on a plane back to Romania. So that's like another really juicy sort of conspiracy theory.
Not on a plane to Australia. That's bizarre.
Actually,
normally they escape to
Australia.
Melbourne.
Yeah.
That's it. It's the sunny Melbourne.
Unbelievable. All right, let's just talk some straight card porn. So Steph Curry, 2013-14, Prism Gold, so this is number to 10, BGS 9.5. Last sold for $48,000. Looking at the graph here from 2017 to current, it's literally just a straight line up. It looks like there was a couple of sales here for around the sort of $1,000 mark at the start.
Yeah.
And then it took this huge uptick all the way up to $35,000. That was in around
2021.
Yeah.
Like it was
Oh yeah, you're right. It is right on 2021, isn't it? And then a little bit up and down until this last sale up here, which is the all-time high. Population 6 on this, which is, I suppose that's right, isn't it? BGS was the king at that time.
It's incredible how the card's gone from, because that 2021 sale is that COVID crazy
absolutely
market explosion, and cards were going for 10x what they should go for. We say should, I guess. It didn't deflate like most other cards have.
Yep.
Like going from 35 to 30K is not really deflating, given the previous sale was like $1,000. You know what I mean? And then,
so you're saying if it was affected by the COVID crazy, it should go down 50% from that.
Yeah, you'd expect it down to the 5 to 10K range, right?
Yep.
To go back to its normal ballpark.
Yep.
But it looks like it's sort of the lowest it went was 30, and then it bounced again. So because it's a low pop, it's numbered to 10. So pop 6 is probably, that means 60% gem rate.
I'd like to hear Ryan's take on this, but I suspect that this card's been sent back in more than one time, because I think for only 10 to be in existence and
6 of them be
6 and 9.5s, like, to me, the logic, that's not all there for me. Particularly, you would think at least some have been sent to PSA too, and some would still be out in the wild, surely.
Yeah.
They can't all be available. Look, I think if you zoom out on this and you look at the hobby from a bigger perspective, I think this really emphasizes to me how important Steph Curry is and how valuable he is within the hobby card collecting community. So this to me is pretty big, actually. So I like this sale a lot because it just emphasizes, and again, going back to what Ryan was saying a while back about buying Steph Curry rookies.
Yep.
Alrighty. Now let's just go to some regular everyday NBA news. I've got this in no really particular order. I've tried to do the big stuff first, and then we'll sort of go into some of the smaller stuff. But why don't we just do a quick one, and then we will have a break, and then we'll come back and do one of the bigger ones. So let's do the DeMar DeRozan trade first. So Sacramento Kings, San Antonio Spurs, and there was a third team involved in this trade too. Of course, the Chicago Bulls. So the Kings get DeMar DeRozan. I'm not super high on this. I'm not exactly sure how he's going to fit into it, but DeRozan actually has a clause in his contract that if he makes the All-Star team, he gets a kicker. So that to me means he's not going to be coming off the bench. He's not going to be on the bench in the fourth quarter. I think he's going to expect a pretty big role, which probably in my mind means he's going to start at the 3 and Keegan Murray will start at the 4.
Okay.
So anyway, we'll see how it goes. I'm not super high on this. The Spurs get Harrison Barnes. I think that's a really good veteran for the Spurs to get. And then the Bulls get basically salary cap relief, and they get 2 second-round picks. They also get Chris Duarte. Look, I think if you're the type of person like me who is saying the Bulls should have been blown up and DeRozan should have been traded for something, last year or the year before that, I think they would have got a lot more back.
Yeah.
Than Chris Duarte.
I think they did wait too long.
Yeah, but at the same time too, it's not a terrible return considering the fact that DeRozan is 36 years old now. So it's better than nothing.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
All right, let's take a break out and we'll be right back. Alrighty, we are back. This is part 3 of episode 153.
Part 3 of 153.
Yeah, that sort of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Very, very poetic.
Cade Cunningham is back with the Pistons on a 5-year, $224 million maximum rookie extension that could be worth as much as $269 million. Obviously, that's all to do with incentives. That's a lot of incentives. What's that? $45 million just for incentives.
That's a lot of incentives, but warranted.
Look, I think if you're a team like Detroit, you need to spend the money on something. I think it's good to say, this is our star and you're going to take us as far as we're going to go. He very quietly averaged 22.7 points, 7.5 assists last year, and 86.9% from the free throw line. Look, I really like Cade's game. I think the obvious issue with this guy is his team absolutely stinks, and they were really hard to watch last year.
Yeah, it's true.
They've had a massive off-season overhaul, fired their head coach.
They owed the coach a lot of money too.
They'll be paying him out. They've made a few off-season moves too, so mostly around Malik Beasley, bringing in some sort of 3-and-D off the bench, and there was another shooter they also got to. I think that was the main thing they tried to do in the off-season, was get some shooting around the rest of the guys, because that was what they needed. But Jalen Duren's looked really good in the Team USA warm-ups. He was giving the first USA team some trouble inside. So I really like to see that. But the next one for us to talk about is Tyrese Maxey, and we're going to do a direct comp with Maxey and Cade in a second too. So Maxey gets 5 years, $204 million with the Sixers, which is still a big deal. $20 million less than what Cade is getting, but I would put that down to all the other assets that the 76ers have now put into their team. Obviously with Paul George, they picked up Caleb Martin too.
And Lowry re-signed.
Yeah, Lowry re-signed too. So I think that to me is where that $20 million difference has gone to. But still, that's a really good outcome, I think, for Maxey.
It's a very good result for Maxey, I think. Philly looking all right.
Yeah, very interestingly, I was very soft bidding on a Maxey and also a Cade this week. And I was shocked to see the end point of the two auctions. So basically, they finished at the same point.
Really?
The Maxey finished at 275 and the Cade finished at 270. So
incredible.
I think this is the perfect time for us to do a 1 versus 1. And who would you take?
YouCantCompthis. Who would you take? I will take the Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, okay.
I'm on the Cade train.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm sticking with him.
So I think that's fine. I don't really have a problem with that at all. If you look at Cade's pricing in the last 6 months, he's actually up 40%. Whereas if you look at, he had a massive downtick. So I think before that 6 months, he was up a lot higher than that, and he's fallen right down. He's recovered.
So to back up my point, rather than just yes, I'd take the Cade.
Yeah, no, please do.
I definitely think Cade is a number one guy. I think when the new Detroit emerge, he will be the number one, if not the number. If he's not the number one, he'll be the number two, right? I don't think Maxey's ever going to be. He's never going to be the number one guy in Philly. Embiid is the number one guy in Philly, and now Paul George has come in. So Maxey is definitely not in the top two. So I just don't. I don't see his ceiling being as high anymore long term. I'm not saying his skill's not going to be. I think Cade will be in the spotlight in a bigger way than Maxey. So that's why I'm sort of going in on Cade for this one.
Yeah, I think, well, in my head, Cade is going to be the number one on that team until a significantly better talent comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if they tank again this year and they get the number one pick again, then you could make that argument. Okay,
sure. Yeah.
But I really like Cade as a all-NBA type player, whether it's going to be the second or third team. But I think in the future, there's no reason he shouldn't be in the top 10 or 15 players in the league. So, I think my issue with Cade at the moment is that the next 12 months is going to be really difficult for the Pistons. And then the next 12 months after that could be
even more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on how the draft goes. Like, they've had atrociously bad luck in the last few drafts. So
yeah, that's true. That's very true.
I just feel like some teams just have really bad draft lottery, and they can be that type of team that even though they stink, perpetually, they're not going to get, too much draft luck, basically. So that's what I worry about with Cade. I just wonder if you just sort of hold off on this guy and look, he might go up a little bit, he might come down a little bit, but whereas on the other hand, I think Maxey's going to be in the spotlight, and probably where my take differs from you a little bit. I think Paul George coming into that team is an interesting one because traditionally what Daryl Morey likes to do with talent is just get as much talent as he can and just throw it into the team and then let itself work out. Whereas this is a very un-Daryl Morey signing for me because I actually think that Paul George fits the 76ers really well because they needed a wing. They needed someone that could play D and they needed someone that could sort of give a little bit of ball handling and some scoring when needed. So I
Yeah.
actually see Paul George as like the best number 3 in the league at the moment. And I think Maxi's going to be the number 2.
Wow.
I actually think Maxi's really skilled and talented. So
Okay.
I like his
Yeah.
game a
Yeah. All
lot.
right. All right.
And so
Yeah. All right.
where I'm going with that is that I think Philadelphia's going to, obviously they've got health issues. If Embiid's healthy, which at the moment he's looking good, and Maxi's good again, and you still expect some improvement in that space. And let's just say Paul George comes in and he's aging, so let's just call him average. I still think that
Okay.
team is going to be really, really good. And so if they're
Yeah.
going to the finals, they're having long playoff runs, I do wonder if Maxi just sort of has that bit more exposure, so he has more of an uptick. The only thing that does worry me, though, is he's actually coming down a bit. So whether people are like, look, I
Off
got
the
this
hype
card
train.
for $100, I'm really happy to sell it for high 2s, low 3s, and, sort of they just get sold out the market. Whereas on the other hand, people are like, oh, Cade is the number 1 overall pick. He's going to be good in the future. And, there's a bit more money sort of coming back into that Cade market because people see it as value. That's the only thing. I think, the rule to sort of apply here is like that one that we just saw with Jason Tatum in the finals where he went down.
Yeah.
Does that
True.
happen to Maxi in the playoffs again? So
I'd like to hope not.
look, I
But
think
yeah.
at the moment, both are good value though. That's my sort of final thought on this. But I just think in terms of buying timelines, they're slightly in a different space.
I agree with the being in a different space. Yeah, I think Maxi might get lost in the noise. That said, Embiid's not the most popular of players to buy, so maybe Maxi is a good buy.
Alrighty, we have to give this guy some love. We just have to do it. So basically,
Who are we giving love?
Jalen Brunson, 4 years, $156 million extension. And I think we were just talking about numbers that began with 2. So the really easy way to explain this is that he's left a whole lot of money on the table. There's a number being thrown out by Woj that he's basically left on the table $130 million. And a couple of weeks back, I was talking about the Knicks and I was saying, I don't understand how they're going to keep all this team together. Like, is now Randall going to be on the trade block just to clear out some money? So no, he's not going to be on the trade block. They're going to keep all this team together. So I think the 2 parts for me is, number one is there's no loyalty in sports. We saw what happened to Isaiah Thomas in Boston when his sister died and he goes out into the court and he plays hurt and then he has a bad hip and then they don't re-sign him because it didn't suit them at the time and he should have been paid that year. And so,
wow,
it's really difficult for me to say this because he's just been paid $156 million. So it's not like he's not getting paid, but he's also left behind $113 million. So I do worry about that. Do you know what I mean? In terms of, him.
To see what he's rewarded with.
Yeah, that's right.
By the people of New York if things go pear-shaped.
That's right. Exactly right. Yeah. On the flip side, though, now is this team set up to win a championship? And I think that's where the sort of the online narrative is now going to and giving a lot of love to this guy. And I think, we hate on athletes all the time, saying them money hungry and they leave teams like Klay Thompson. He didn't get the money and the opportunity he wanted from Golden State, so he goes to Dallas to get that few extra bucks. I don't think it was the money.
I think it was the end of the road for a little bit of
there was a lot of things that went into that decision, but money was definitely part of it.
Of course.
We've seen other athletes, leave teams for money. So, he's done the complete opposite. Now, I think reflecting this back into hobby value, I think this is going to be huge for him. So,
the people's man.
That's right. I think I was very reluctant to get onto the Jalen Brunson train. I just didn't really know where it was going, but I think this is such a powerful thing that he's just done. I think it has to affect his hobby value. How much is it going to uptick it? I don't think anything now, but I think if that team gets to a championship, I think you could say it's going to double.
I think that's a reasonable... hang on, I'll just bring him up on card ladder.
Because I still think that Jalen Brunson is going to be their number 1. If they win a championship, I think he has to be the driving force. I think they've got all the supplementary players around him to support him to, to let that happen.
Well, his rookie card sales peaked at, was it 440 in May this year? This is the last 6 months I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And then after obviously they did lose in the playoffs and didn't make it to the finals.
Sure.
They lost to the Pacers. They didn't make it to the Eastern Conference finals.
They were very injured.
They were very hurt. So that's it. It's stabilized and it's now at around the $300 mark. That said, again, in the last 6 months, it's up 150%.
Yeah.
Because it started off at $120.
Yeah, he spiked really hard.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think his current value is going to keep going at that point. I don't think this is going to spike it. But if you do believe in the Twitter, the online narrative around that's a championship move, then, yeah, there's no reason I don't think that can double.
Yeah. I mean, there were rumors that LeBron was going to take less money and then he didn't. So,
I mean, he took some less money back in the day.
He took $3 million less, apparently, than he could have got.
And he did take less money when they got the Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh team together, but yeah. Not $100 million less. Yeah.
No, not quite.
All right. We should take our last break out and then we'll come back and we'll talk some Rob Dillingham.
Rob Dillingham coming up.
All righty. We're back. We are back. It's our last segment, our last part of the show. That's probably the better way to say it, isn't it? We're not going to finish on Rob Dillingham. This is not going to take 15 minutes to get through. No.
This is not going to take long at all.
All right. So I was pretty obsessed about this whole Wolves moving up to spot 8 in the draft. I'm not going to lie to you about this, and I've definitely done a little bit more of a deep dive into it. So who is Rob Dillingham? Basically, if you go to NBA Draft Net, they will break it all down for you in a really, really powerful way. They've got some amazing stats and statistics and all that type of stuff. Of course, you can go onto YouTube and watch some footage, which I have, but I think also too their scouting reports are just amazing. So I definitely went into their bag there.
Yeah.
Overall, 92, they rated this young man. On the big board, they rated him at 19. So I think that's probably one thing that is different to as it played out in real life. He is a Kentucky kid, so however the Wolves, measured that is something. The NBA comparison is Kemba Walker and Brandon Jennings. And I think that's the big sort of take on this kid, listening to analysts talk about him. He's a scorer. And so where this threads back into the Wolves is at their press conference at the end of the season, they highlighted the deficiencies in their team, which is the offensive end. Defensively, clearly, they've got things nailed down with their twin towers.
Pretty well too, yeah.
Yeah, so they just need someone to get some buckets. And basically, if you read through that, it's all about him getting into the paint, slipping between defenders, using deceptive moves, dribble drive, lack of size, but can still finish around the basket. So I'm really excited about all of this. So, right, now where does this fit into the NBA? So his salary for the next 4 years, 6.2, 6.5, 6.8, and 8.7. Now, I think in the first 2 years, you can sort of just write that money off. But I think where it gets really interesting in his third year, when he's got 2 years of experience under his belt, and just say he's getting 15 points per game off the bench, and you're just paying him $6.8 million, which is 4% of the cap. That's really, really powerful.
That's a bargain.
Yeah. And I think that's where the Wolves are looking into this.
Is that their window? Is that what you think they're building towards?
I think they just wanted to add young talent at a cheap
see
price.
Some depth,
And in a weird way too, that this team, I don't think the Wolves are a finished product. I don't think they're going to win the championship with what they've got. So I think it's a really good idea to take another swing at somebody. So I get that. Now, where it does get a little bit juicy, though, is they gave up a lot to get this guy. So they've traded with the Spurs, and the Spurs are in asset collecting mode. So they got back a 2031 pick swap, which is unprotected.
Yep.
And the really interesting timeline about that is that by 2031, you would expect Wemby to be basically in his peak time,
dominating the entire league.
Yeah. So what the Spurs want at that time, because you would also expect their roster to be expensive, they want cheap draft picks at that time so they can fill out the back of their bench for good value, just what the Wolves are doing now. And then in 2030, also a first-round pick, which is only top 1 protected. So this could turn out to be really bad for the Wolves and, amazing for the Spurs. So
theoretically, so the Spurs are hoping for that Kobe pick to go with Shaq. By year 7, Wemby, you'll be in full dominant mode of
something terrible to happen to the Wolves, and then the Spurs get their picks. How amazing. All right. Now, let's keep into the Spurs, because this is the other thing that's been in my mind this week. And actually, this has been from the Olympic warm-ups. So watching good guards feed the ball to Wemby, as opposed to last year when it was Sochan, right? So now flip that around again. So instead of Sochan throwing lobs to
Chris
Wemby, now you've got
Paul
Chris Paul, right? So, and this is a little bit of a long-winded thread here, but bear with me.
That's cool.
So this year, the draft isn't fantastic.
Nope.
So you can spend your money anywhere you want, and I think you should buy into breaks and have fun. That's totally fine. But there is also something to be said about going back and looking at previous drafts and seeing where there's value to be had.
Where there's some, value. I like it.
I've been crapping on about Case and Wallace and all this type of stuff. Like, that's fine. But my mind is actually beginning to change about Wemby, and I'm beginning to believe in the hype, and I'm beginning to believe in the buy-in for this guy. And
you're drinking the Kool-Aid.
I am. Look, I'm 12 months down the track, so I don't feel like I jumped onto the hype train straight away. And I feel like we've talked about Wemby, but we haven't raved about Wemby in a unhealthy way, I don't think. But
no.
This guy is ridiculously skilled.
Yep.
He is insanely physically gifted.
Yes.
And then if you're moving into a piece where I actually don't know how to say this properly, so just like, again, sort of bear with me. So I think the face of the NBA is going to be Wemby, because I don't think you can have the face of the NBA with Zion. So I think there's going to be more money coming out of Zion. I think Ja Morant, all that behavioral stuff that happened to him last year, in my head sort of seals his fate. I don't think they're going to make the face of the NBA Ja Morant.
Fair enough.
And Wemby is so freakish. Like, you don't really need to market him. You just need to show a video of him just doing the stuff that he does, and you're just blown away by the guy. So I think in the same way that people are mesmerized by Steph Curry in how skilled he is, I think that also applies to Wemby.
It's possible. It's very possible.
I know we love Steph Curry because he's a small guy in a big man's league, but there's something about Wemby that you just sort of look at him and he seems friendly and he seems nice, and you can somehow associate with him.
I
don't know how this take is going, but anyway. Look,
I think there's a lot of people will agree with it.
He's going to be better next year, though. And he's going to be more effortlessly better when you've got someone like Chris Paul throwing him lobs. I don't think... How do you measure that, and how do you show that? You know, I'm kind of getting excited to, see this next year. Yes, all the excitement.
Chris Paul has a history of making squads better.
And big guys better, yeah.
And grooming guards. And we've obviously got Stephon Castle that they drafted with the fourth pick.
Sure.
He's going to get a lot of mentoring from Chris Paul. Like, all of it. Like, the Spurs program, Harrison Barnes was not brought in as part of this trade for no reason.
Look,
another vet that will be amazing playing Spurs basketball and teaching those around him. Barnes has been a champion with the Warriors. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's been that smart vet presence in Sacramento. I don't know. I feel like the Spurs are building to something.
I'm not super high on Harrison Barnes, to be honest with you. I'm not sad that he's left Sacramento. So, but at the same time...
You're just happy you've got DeRozan.
I'm not even happy I've got DeRozan, to be honest. I'm like, I wanted Brandon Ingram to be honest. Anyway, let's not talk about my love of the Kings. But look, I think Harrison Barnes is going to be fine on the Spurs. He's a professional. He's a quiet guy. I think he's going to fit their sort of the thing that they like to do. I've got no problems with him going there, but
it's the system.
The main thing is, like, Chris Paul setting up Wemby is going to be insane. And so, of course, I thought about card values. So I actually went on to 130 Point and I took down the last 20 sales. And there's been a lot of sales of this guy. I do wonder if some of these sales are the same sale that they picked up twice, but I will trust that Lane's got all these stats correct there. So the last 20 sales average on a silver PSA 10 Wemby is 1,051.
Wow.
For some reason, I still can't find it on Card Ladder.
So hang on. So that's literally half of what it was a couple of months ago. I think silver PSA 10s were like, was it 2,000? Was that the going rate? Oh, God. I have to go back a few eps. More than a few eps, but yeah. Okay. An average of $1,000 for a silver PSA 10.
I think my issue is that it's a bit like the Jordan rookie card with it. You don't really know how many of these are out there. That doesn't really appeal to me. So I think I would look at different cards. I think the silver in itself is a little bit problematic, but at the same time, yeah. In the last week, I've really flipped around on my Wemby. I've become a believer. I think he's going to be the king of the hobby pretty soon.
Wow. King of the hobby.
Well, think So think about it. Who's been the last 5 big dogs that we've had? Like LeBron, Steph, Luka, Zion, Ja. You could put LaMelo in there.
Melo was a flash in the pan.
Yeah,
No,
flash
you're
in the
right.
pan,
You're
but
right.
he's
You're right.
gone now, right? Like that's done. Like I think my Zion and Ja take is pretty reasonable. I think they're done.
Yeah, I agree. I do think Zion is a top 20 player in the league next season, though.
I don't know, man.
I think his hobby value is shot because he's such a. It's so you can't depend on his ability. His ability to get injured is probably his.
He's injury prone. I think you just have to accept that. Like that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
As soon as you get too high on him, he's going to disappoint you. You get it, but I still think he's a top 20 player, but he can't be the face of the league.
Sure.
He was dominant. He almost willed the Pelicans into the playoffs and then hurt himself with 3 minutes to go.
I was impressed with him and I loved what he did. I'm not throwing shade at him. I'm just saying that
hobby-wise, you can't trust the man to stay healthy.
And particularly when you've got this going on over here, which is going to look better next year.
Yep. And Ja coming back from injury after all his shenanigans, he's not going to be able to get to it. I understand that too. We're about to see a new wave, and I think it will be led by Victor Wembanyama.
Because like LeBron's going to be gone pretty soon. Steph is not that far away from, retiring. Let's just say 3 or 4 more years of Steph, right?
Yeah.
Why can't he be king of the castle in 3 years?
I don't see why he couldn't be. He could get injured.
Of course.
People that are his height, there is a history of being injury prone as well. Let's not wish that on him.
No. And I don't disagree with that, but I would also say some people, like Kevin Garnett, have these bodies that aren't particularly big.
Yeah.
But they're freakishly strong and then got very, resilient bodies. I'd like to hope this is... I look at him and I think more that than fragile Keith Kloss or something like this. So, yeah. That's a Clippers reference for you.
That's why I chuckled.
Alrighty. Donovan Mitchell, 3 years, 150. Does this move the hobby needle? Absolutely not at all. Does it make people love him or hate him more? No, I don't think nothing. Are the Cleveland Cavaliers going to go further now that he's been re-signed? Probably not. I think they need to sort out their front court.
Yeah.
I think Evan Mobley is more dependent on the team's success than Donovan Mitchell is. I think Mitchell is a pretty known quantity by now. I think the wild card for that team
known quantity.
is Mobley, to be honest. So that's a quick hitting one. DeJounte Murray was traded to the Pelicans.
To the Pels.
The Hawks received Larry Nance Jr., Dyson Daniels, a 25 first-round pick and a 2027 first-round pick. So that is a lot for the Pelicans to give up.
But I think the Pelicans are ready to make a run. I have a feeling. Speaking of those lobs, can you see Murray lobbing it to Zion?
Yeah. Look, I think the Pelicans need a defender and they need someone who is probably a little bit less ball dominant to be out on the floor. Because I think in my head, that's where that team is a little bit flawed, is that you've sort of got Ingram who needs the ball, CJ McCollum who could dribble the ball for 23 and a half seconds per possession. And of course, Zion who probably should be their point forward. So I think getting in a defender like DeJounte Murray is a really good thing.
Yeah.
I think the hobby winner, though, out of all of this is Dyson Daniels. I think that's the one we need to really watch here because...
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so.
That's the Atlanta Hawks.
Well, the funny thing about the Hawks is that their picks aren't in their control, so they actually can't bottom out.
So they just have to try.
I think Dyson Daniels is actually a very multi-skilled basketball player. I think his jump shot needs to be improved, but at the same time, in the right system, setting up the right... I'm just
down on him because of the Boomer selection, that's all.
I think the Boomers and NBA is almost two separate kettles of fish.
Yeah, but that's the only thing. I'm down on Dyson at the moment because I didn't think he deserved to be in the Australian squad.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also don't rate Atlanta, so I think it's going to be for I don't think Atlanta's a big enough market to move the needle on him. But it could be a move if they actually pull out some good basketball.
I didn't go into this in a heap of detail, but looking at their team rotation, he's definitely going to be in their rotation.
Which is positive, yeah.
Yeah. And also too, even if the rotation thing that I looked at was wrong, I probably think he's going to be played in different spots. And I also think he could be played in front of other people on that roster. So I think this is really good for Dyson Daniels.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the problem with that Pelicans roster too. They're actually really stacked.
Yeah. Like getting opportunity is not easy. Yep.
Alrighty, Isaiah Joe. So this is really for our friend of the podcast, Lachlan Blunt. Isaiah Joe was someone that was brought to our attention by Lachlan. He is going back to the Thunder on a 4-year, $48 million deal.
Oh yeah, 12 mil a year. That's nice. Nice.
So he's one of these funny people that didn't get a Prism rookie card. I think he is collectible, but I'd also say at the same time too, it's a bit like we just spoke about with the Pelicans. That team is so stupidly stacked. I don't actually understand how they're going to fit all those picks into that team.
They're probably not.
Like, I wonder, do they trade like 10 first-round picks for
Wemby?
I don't know. Like, what do you even trade for?
I know. What do you? Yeah, exactly.
Like LeBron? I don't know. Anthony Davis.
We'll take picks for LeBron.
How many first-round picks do you need to get LeBron? 8? 9? They've got 30, you know?
That's crazy, isn't it?
2 of them.
They'll position themselves well.
Alrighty, we'll finish today's show on this one. I think you'll enjoy this. Team USA Basketball made an announcement. Kawhi Leonard has been ramping up for the Olympics over the past several weeks and had a few strong practices in Las Vegas. He felt ready to compete. However, he respects that USA Basketball and the Clippers determined it's in his best interest to spend the remainder of the summer preparing for the upcoming season rather than participating in the Olympic Games in Paris. So that is from Team USA Basketball. So Ty Lue is on the coaching staff of Team USA, so clearly the finger was on the pulse very, very closely there. Grant Hill, who is the director of Team USA at the moment, who essentially makes the final call on the players who are going in and out of the team, apparently had his finger on the pulse on this one too, and immediately named your boy as a replacement into the team. So how are you feeling?
White.
How are you feeling about Mr. White being named to Team USA?
The DRK stocks are on the rise. That's what I've got to say. God, to go back to that, the bro stocks are going down because Jaylen Brown was not considered. What the hell?
Okay, so let's talk about this. Why do you think that they chose Derek White over Jaylen Brown?
They wanted to annoy Jaylen Brown? I don't know. Because of the type of player they wanted. They wanted another guard backup. Like, they wanted to change the dynamic, the mix-up of the team. That said, Kawhi plays the 3. I don't understand why Jaylen Brown wasn't considered.
So I think to play the 3, they've got Durant can play 3 or 4.
LeBron.
They've got LeBron. They've got Jason Tatum. I think Edwards can play a little bit of 3 if needed. Booker could play a little bit of 3 if needed. And do they particularly need guard play?
Maybe not.
I don't know. They've got Halliburton. They've got Drew Holiday. They've got Steph Curry. I don't know.
Maybe Derek White's just better at peeling oranges for the rest of the players.
Can I be honest with you? I think that's what they need. They need a really good 12th man, and that's where they wanted to go. I'm not sure.
At waving towels? I don't know.
Do we go into the conspiracy theory stuff with Jaylen Brown and why he wasn't on the team? There was some chatter with Nike basketball and all that.
Really?
Yeah, with the amount of money apparently that Nike puts into the team, and there's some disagreement with Jaylen Brown and all the rest of it. So the other conspiracy theory that I think was created in my head and by nobody else is that it's like Steve Kerr playing mind games with him as like a rival NBA coach to try and create
Brown Tatum friction.
Yeah, friction within the Celtics, right? Because he's the finals MVP, he's the playoffs MVP.
I'm all on board with this. I am all on board with this. Look, Jaylen Brown would just like to focus on the upcoming NBA season so that the Boston Celtics can retain their title. That's going to be...
Look, I got to be honest with you. To me, it's a very unusual choice that he's not on the team.
Yeah. I see Derek White as a reasonable choice. Don't get me wrong.
But I think Jaylen Brown is a better choice because I think his game actually fits the international game really well. He's very flexible. He could play realistically at least 3 positions in the world game. So,
but looking at the way how much it's stacked, you're probably not going to get many minutes for him anyway. Because look at the dream team.
It could just be that
3.0.
Yeah, I think if they get another injury though, like if Durant pulls out because apparently he's got a calf problem. If Edwards pulls out for some unusual reason or Booker, he has to get chosen next. Like I think. And if he's not, there's something else going on in the background.
Something's not right if that happens. Yep.
All right.
Agreed.
Final thoughts, Ad. What have you got?
What have I got? It's been a big week. There's a lot of basketball stuff happening. There's a lot of hobby stuff happening.
We still didn't get through the sheet this week, mate. So
and this is the off season.
Yeah.
So Never a dull moment in the
No,
NBA.
definitely not.
Looking forward to the Olympics, though.
Yeah. Or as I called them at the start of the show, the World Championships.
Pretty much. Same potato.
Alrighty, guys. Thanks so much, and thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks, everyone, including our friends at Central Coast Radio.
Oh, good call, lad.
Yeah. And our loyal favorites in the Facebook group that give us so much quality feedback and content. Yep. Yeah, the banter. Yeah, thanks everybody. Really appreciate it. See you next week.